All right, everybody. We're doing it a little bit early right now. Minute 49 left on the clock. We're starting to go live here. Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Celtics going to take a 1-0 lead. Let's get hype. It's Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome in to a Green with NBA Finals Game 1 post-game recap. Boston Celtics taking down the Dallas Mavericks at home. That game right now is wrapping up here in the final stages. This is your boy, Will Weir, checking in. How you doing? How you living? What a night to be a Boston Celtics fan. We couldn't even wait. We couldn't wait for the final buzzer. As we're recording, the white flags have been thrown up by both teams. We've got subs in on all sides. Svi Mikhailuk's getting his first NBA Finals run. So with that, we figured let's jump in here. Let's start talking about game 1. And let me get to it. Let me welcome in my best friend, co-host, and the coach of the podcast, the one and only Greg Menakis. Salut to you, my friend.
Salut, brother. Salut. Sam Hauser back at it, man. Big game from Sam tonight. He's hit another 3. It's just really good to see Sam get off the snide. That one 3-pointer he had in the corner, man, where he just caught the ball in his shooting pocket and let that thing go.
Oh my! Dude, we're gonna get to all of it, but that sequence is what set everything. Like everything was kind of at a boiling point. The night got set off on that sequence of starting with, I believe it was JT hit his first shot of the entire game late in the first quarter. That kind of step back high arching 3. Then Porzingis hits a patented 29, 30-foot 3-point shot, and then right after that you get that Sam Hauser shot that you're talking about, where I think that I'm not positive. I think it might have been his first shot of the game, and coming off of his 7% performance against the Pacers, I was like, ooh, Sam, you could have swung that. Never mind. And then I just got very, very excited, and my dog got very, very confused. But that sequence to end the first quarter, which I think put the Celtics up 17, I believe, to end the first quarter, that was really what kind of ignited everything and took it to the next level. As I believe the final buzzer is going off here right now, Celtics officially 107 to 89 winners. I will say, Greg, I did predict 107 in the pregame. I think I had 95 or 97, something like that for the Mavericks. So a little bit off on that, but Celtics officially win 107 to 89. How are you feeling right now, man? I've been smiling ear to ear for about 85% of the game since tip off. There's a little patch in there we'll talk about, but about 85% of this game I was smiling ear to ear.
I feel great, man. I mean, we got to start talking about Kristaps Porzingis, right? Right? Do you want to do a morning box score, or you just want to talk it through?
Let's just talk it through, because we're going to hit everything here, man. We're doing it off the dome right now. We started a little bit early. We got a couple drinks in us. It's not going to be the most organized show that we've ever had. So
yeah, we're going to rely on the chat. So if you are watching on Twitter or on YouTube, we would love to take your comments. Yeah. We need to ride this energy, this collective energy together. But man, when Kristaps Porzingis came into the game at about the 8-minute mark in the first quarter, which, as I predicted, would be to match minutes with Derek Lively, who was a non-factor.
Got to give you your props. You were spot on with the Kristaps off the bench take, matching the Lively minutes. I mean, it's the funny part. I was thinking about this, Greg, because you notice and we'll get to the Lively foul trouble, because that's a massive component of this game, is that when he came out with that 5th foul, Porzingis came out right away too. So all the way through the third, Mazzulla was doing that minute match, but then you saw at one point in the fourth quarter early on, Porzingis played, and in my head I started laughing. I was like, man, he ran out of minutes to match with Lively. I still want to play Porzingis, but Lively can't play right now with 5 fouls, so he played him anyways. But you were spot on. So I gotta give you your props on that.
Yeah, I just thought it made sense, man. Derek Lively was such a huge part of the Mavericks' success up until this game tonight, where you saw their defense. When he's in there, it can be a real problem for anybody that's going up against it. They're basically in this amorphous 2-3 zone where they're playing boxes and elbows, funneling everything to Derek Lively in the paint. And when he steps up and they kind of go into a 3-2 with him at the top of that, he's really good at just getting into somebody like Tatum, and then they have the low men just slide over, and they have the guys in the wing fly to the corners. They do a really good job of taking that stuff away. And I thought it was great. Jaylen Brown, man, we're going to talk about Porzingis. We're talking about Jaylen. Jaylen in that third quarter, when it looked like things were slipping away for the Celtics, he really stepped up on defense, but he also stepped up on offense, attacking Derek Lively, drawing his fourth and fifth foul, getting him out of the game, and really opening up the floodgates. But let's stay on Porzingis in the first half, because that was all the people that were talking all the shit about the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference, talking about all these people that were injured. And we're sitting here like, we are missing our 7'4" defense that completely unlocks our offense. How are you guys just going to overlook that? And we heard a lot of shit from a lot of people, and we just kept saying, wait until Porzingis gets back. If he's healthy, you guys will see the real.
It's a different world. It's a different ball game when Porzingis is healthy. And like you said, never mind the offensive output, the 3 block shots that he had, which I think might have even been 4. There was several shots that he deterred in one way or another. Like Porzingis was very active when he was in there, clearly still getting his win back. But when Porzingis was on the court with this team, it became, like you said, blatantly obvious. Like, this is what we're saying. When you have Porzingis, if you don't have Porzingis, okay, this was a lot of our preview, right? Like, if we don't have Porzingis, this is a very tight series. This is a much closer and difficult matchup, actually, for the Celtics to take advantage the way that they want to. And we'll get into what we saw, especially in that end of the second quarter into about halfway through the third quarter, which is where I think that's going to be, if you're a Mavericks fan, you're honing in as like, okay, how do we replicate this recipe of this little, 12-minute block of this game where we lose by, 20 points or whatever. And when Kristaps is out there, it's night and day, man. It really is. Everything looks so easy. The Celtics tonight were really good about not getting bogged down into too many one-on-one scenarios where they're just kind of dribbling the ball into the ground, dribbling the air out of it. A lot of extra passes tonight. And they found Kristaps a lot in that opening stretch, going back to that first half, where he just had the mismatches, and KP came out ready. He was not fucking around. KP was not messing around with, okay, I got the ball. Are you going to bring a double? Are you going to bring a double? You're not? Okay, cool. I'm using my body. I'm 7'4". You're Josh Green. You're 6'5". I'm shooting right over you. And he did that. He got to the line. He was absolutely the ceiling raiser that we've been waiting to have back in this lineup now for 2.5 series.
I mean, think back last year and the year before when we would talk about Robert Williams being I call him Bobby Bitcoin, right? Where he was boom or bust. And it seemed like whenever Rob Williams was unlocked, when the Celtics figured out how to utilize him on both ends of the court, that's when the Celtics really stepped up their game. And then we talked about Marcus Smart and all the great things that Marcus Smart brought to the court. And then we add Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday. And we've talked all year about how
just replace Marcus Smart and Rob Williams with Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, 2 facsimiles in different ways, and then just how much higher everything is with this team just by making those 2
Jrue is awesome. Jrue is awesome tonight.
Yeah.
But Porzingis' defense, man, in that first half, obviously his offense was great, but the Celtics were not a good defensive team in the postseason without Kristaps Porzingis, because we had no rim protection. And this is what I was talking about with Kari on our preview with him when I called Kristaps the biggest, baddest guy on the court. This is what I'm talking about, right? When he is on the court, it emboldens every other defender on the court, because they know they have this 7'4" guy just waiting at the rim, And I think that people, like, if you haven't played with really large human beings on your basketball court, you don't understand the difference that it makes. When you play with someone who's 6'8" and above in like a normal in a normal, like when we play with AJ, when AJ 6'8", when we play with these big guys, you're just like, we can get up in this guy's jersey because we got a huge guy waiting at the rim, and it honestly makes you feel tougher.
I mean, what this speaks to is you think back to that Draymond Green and Drew Holiday interview when Drew Holiday went on Draymond's podcast and talked a lot about being that perimeter guy and how you're on an island. I don't know what's happening behind me, but if you know that you have, when he was in New Orleans, Anthony Davis, or, now here in Boston, or when he was in Milwaukee, he had Giannis and Brook Lopez. And so now here, when you have Kristaps Porzingis behind you, like that's, I think what you're kind of speaking to is your mentality is how much more aggressive you can be. And we saw both Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown get really aggressive at select moments and make those steals where they pick each of them, I believe, at one point, pick Luka's pocket and, got just runaway dunks and layups off of being able to be a little bit more aggressive because of exactly what you're saying. So, having KP back out there tonight was, just a world of difference for what this team looks like, what their ceiling is. And, especially in that first half up until about, 3 or 4 minutes left, and it felt like the Celtics were just going to run away with this thing, 30, 40 points. And they got up to 29. Didn't close the half, I think, the way they wanted to. And then obviously the Mavs made their run in the third quarter. But KP, did you happen to see, by the way, on Twitter, the crowd reaction to KP coming out for warmups?
Dude, so great. So
that was so cool.
I had a few people DM me some videos. Shout out to our guy TSA John. He was at the game tonight. John McGoldrick, and he just sent me a video of him in the balcony. The TD Garden was electric tonight, man. All the videos that were coming out 2 hours before the game. Forsberg tweets out the "Let's Go Celtic" chants happening right outside the Garden before everybody comes in. This is when Boston is special. This is when TD Garden is special. When there's real stakes, the crowd really delivers. It was unbelievable seeing that. But dude, I just want to go over some quick numbers. We're not going to do a full morning box score, but just in terms of the defense, Jaylen Brown, man, we got to give him his flowers tonight. 3 steals, 3 blocks. Unbelievable full court press on Luka Doncic for the entire first half. Kristaps Porzingis also had 3 blocks. The Celtics as a team had 15 stocks, so 9 blocks and 6 steals. The Dallas Mavericks had 9 assists total. They had 11 turnovers, so they had a negative assist to turnover ratio. 9 assists to 11 turnovers
for Luka Doncic tonight. Luka, the perennial trophy, and Luka was really special. We'll talk about Luka here. He had some really special moments, but 1 assist. I mean, Luka. I almost asked you in the pregame, like, do you expect Luka to average 38 and 8? And I think that would have been actually a pretty reasonable thing to be like, yeah, that's a pretty good over under of what his series is going to be. He got 30 and 10. He got 1 assist. That is, I'm going to look it up here. Maybe not while we're on air right now, but I want to look it up as to, that's got to be the lowest assist total for Luka. Obviously it's 1. There's only one number lower than 1, but I mean, how many times does Luka get under 5 assists? You know what I mean? Like, that's an absurd number for Luka to have, is 1 assist in an entire game.
Yeah, I mean, that speaks to the way that the Celtics were guarding Luka. They very rarely sent 2 to the ball out on the perimeter. They had bodies whenever Luka would get into the paint. They did a really good job showing at the boxes, but they didn't overreact to Luka on the perimeter. They lived with Luka step backs. They lived with Al Horford, guarding Luka, as you mentioned in the pregame. They lived with Jaylen Brown. They lived with Jason
By the way,
Tatum.
Al did really well in space tonight. I thought Al looked really good. He
Al
made that block on Luka on the wing on the 3-point shot and the step back.
Guarding Kyrie.
Got a block. Yeah, guarding Kyrie.
It's almost like he had 10 days off.
We've talked about it before. It's the Al Horford effect. You give him a couple of days off, he looks good. So I think the game to watch for Al to slip up is actually the game that game 4. It's only 1 day off, so that could be the game where maybe Al falters a little bit.
Other fun numbers from tonight. How many minutes do you think Kristaps Porzingis played tonight, Will?
I mean, I'm looking right at it, so I know exactly what it is.
20 minutes. 20 minutes from Kristaps Porzingis. What did I say in the pregame? I said Kristaps Porzingis needs to just have an impactful 20 to 25 minutes a night, and that is going to make all the difference in the world, because it means we're not playing Luke Cornett. we're not playing Xavier Tillman. We don't have to go Tatum at the 5. We don't have to go to O'Shea Brissett minutes. We very rarely went double big. I don't think we should go double big in this series. We had a couple minutes,
and I thought the
Celtics looked like shit when we went to double big. But I do think that Kristaps, if he can just give us 25 minutes every single game where he's just shot out of a cannon, it'll be interesting to see if they continue to bring him off the bench and minute match him with Derek Lively as they did tonight. But I mean, he was just the X factor. He was the cheat code. He was everything that Kristaps Porzingis could be. This was I had a buddy at work today who is from I think he's from around the Dallas area, but he's not a huge basketball fan. And he was just asking me, he was like, hey, when Porzingis was with the Mavs, he like wasn't really that good. Like, what should I expect tonight when I watch the game? And I was like, if he's healthy, dude, like you're going to see one of the best players on the court, no question.
And that's 100% what he was tonight. In the minutes that he was out there, he was absolutely fantastic. Let's spread some love around here to a few other guys. Let's go to Jaylen Brown, because you've already touched on him.
My guy.
We can kind of work the Jays as a whole into this, but let's start specifically with Jaylen Brown. And, Greg, something we talked about in the pregame is what are they going to do with Luka to start out, right? It's going to be a group assignment, which it was, and we'll see if we get maybe some of that matchup data here before we sign off on this podcast. But, Jaylen started out with that assignment. Jaylen, takes it all. Jaylen takes everything pretty personal. He definitely took the assignment of trying to stick Luka Doncic pretty personal tonight, and just had a stat line that just filled it up, man. Let me just read this out for you here. Played 38 minutes, or just over 37 minutes, 7 of 12, super efficient from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, did miss 5 free throws, but got to the line 11 times, and several of those on Derek Lively, as you pointed out, which may have shifted the game as far as that run that the Mavericks were on, which we can talk a little bit more about. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, 6 stocks overall combined, 22 points, plus 12. And most importantly, I think just in that 5-minute window of when the game went from 29 to 8, and then from getting it from 8 back up to 20 to the end of the third quarter, that was the period where Jaylen Brown was at his absolute best as far as putting his mark on this game and preventing me from having a full-out panic attack in my living room.
Dude, the Jaylen Brown play, I mean, the effort from Jaylen all night. This is one thing about Jaylen Brown that I've always just appreciated.
That dunk in the first quarter, by the way. Oh my God. Or second quarter,
I mean,
first half, but yeah.
He had 3 great dunks in the first half. He had 2 unbelievable breakaway dunks, one where he picked Luka's pocket, and the other one where I think Horford, maybe Brown knocked it away, but Horford threw the outlet to him for an open dunk. But the one thing I've always appreciated about Jaylen Brown is his mentality and how he's just not scared of the moment, man. He's like a real, I know it's cliche to say, but he's a real dog. And when it gets tough on the court, you never question if he shook mentally. He's always locked in, just like in terms of his self-belief and his confidence in himself, because as his Twitter handle says, faith, hard work, consistency pays off, right? That's what Jaylen Brown literally preaches. Like that's his life mantra, is to follow through on all of the hard work that he puts into himself. And tonight, that one sequence, man, in the third quarter where he blocks Derek Jones' lob attempt on the same play, stuffs him at the rim. One play later, blocks Kyrie Irving. I mean, what else can you say about the guy? And then he hits the big 3-pointer that really, I think it got the Celtics back up either 16 or 18 points at that time.
Yeah.
And it just felt like we needed somebody to put the cape on in that moment, because KP, you couldn't expect him to do it for a full 48, right? He only played 20 minutes tonight. He did what he needed to do. We needed somebody to step up in the third. They were throwing everything they had at Jason Tatum so that he couldn't get going, and Jaylen Brown needed to step up, and he did.
Yeah, this was a great moment for Jaylen Brown tonight. Very vindicating for all the reasons that you laid out. And, you just love to see just all the numbers across the board for Jaylen Brown in this game. And, I think something before that you could have said about JB's game is that he might, force it at times. If it feels like to your point of putting on the cape, sometimes it may have felt like, oh, that means JB's going to try to force it. There was no forcing it tonight, man. There was one play, I think it was, I can't remember I think it was in the first half, where Jaylen Brown went to go baseline, and like he kind of had a little bit of an angle, and he could have taken a pretty tough fall away. Instead, he found a little bounce pass on the baseline that went right to Drew Holiday in the dunker spot. And in my head, I was like, damn, that's 100%, maybe last year, definitely 2 years ago. That's JB forcing a really tough fadeaway. And now he's at this point in his game where he's so in control. He's controlled chaos at times, but he's so in control that he can take a step, take a breath, and say, okay, here's the position I'm in. What's the best option? It doesn't have to be me doing this one thing. Let me see let me scan. Let me do the quick robotic scan, see what all is available to me, and then make that play. And, you're just seeing this full evolution of Jaylen Brown. He's been amazing. He's been the most consistent Celtic from a high-end perspective throughout the playoffs. I think there's no question about that. I think you can still say Tatum's probably the best player on this team. He is still the best player on this team. But Jaylen Brown has been the most consistent player night in and night out throughout these playoffs. Anything else you want to add about JB before we go to Tatum?
I just want to really quickly give a quick shout to NBA.com and all their people that have already got the plays and the highlights uploaded for us to make this show even better. So I just want to start with some Jaylen Brown defensive plays. We're going to go chronological. So we'll go JB's first steal and breakaway dunk on Luka Doncic. What I love about this play is Jaylen Brown's pressure. In the first half, he was all over Luka, full court, to the point where Luka stopped bringing the ball up the court. Right. Luka is normally the guy that just brings the ball up full 94 feet. In the second half, Kyrie Irving was initiating a lot of the offense. Luka didn't want that problem.
38 years old, Al Horford. And that's what makes Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum so dynamic, as Jaylen Brown gets the easy two in transition.
Whoo, man. Jaylen picking him up full court, fighting over the screen, right, beating him to the spot.
I love when JB and Drew are both very good at this. When they're locked in and they refuse to give that easy switch, which is honestly one of the most frustrating things when you watch most NBA games, is how easy teams just go, okay, there's a guy here. All right, I guess you get, Jonas Valanciunas. Yep, take him. Go ahead. I don't know what to do. There's a guy here. I can't get by him. I don't know what to do. And the teams give it up so easy. It frustrates the hell out of me. I love when Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday fight over it like that.
Then we had another one, another steal on Luka. Jaylen just being a dog, picking him up full court. Very similar, but this one, no screen involved. Just Jaylen, Luka in open space. Jaylen beats him to the spot. Again, Luka going to his left hand. Jaylen knocks it away. Breakaway dunk.
You can't casually double team unexpectedly, because that's when Boston's so dangerous.
Brown on the steal and slam.
This man was locked in tonight, Will. Locked in tonight. Like when we were debating who was going to pick up Luka in the pregame, and I said I would put Drew on him, but I bet Jaylen Brown is going to go to Joe Mazzulla and say, I got Luka Doncic. He just has all of the tools to be this on the defensive end. It's really special when Jaylen Brown is this focused and this motivated on the defensive side of the court.
And he sets the tone. Like you said, that's why I was expecting Jaylen to start off on Luka, because you want to set the tone. It's been 10 days off. You need that guy that's going to say, and like you said, the crowd was amazing tonight. So the crowd was certainly helping. That's the NBA Finals. There shouldn't be any reason that you need to get up. But when you get on that court, it's a little bit different. And I do think it's weird that it was kind of dismissed that like all of the Celtics players were just in this spot 2 years ago. Like that has to be a value. For years and years, that has been a value. And it feels like over the last week and a half, it's been completely glossed over just because they have Kyrie Irving, who, yes, has played in many finals. No one else has on the Mavericks. And literally everybody except for KP has been in this position. And we also have one champion in Drew Holiday. But literally everybody else on the Celtics was in the finals 2 years ago. Like they know what this is like. And they even talked about how when they played the Warriors, a team who was very veteran in that moment, that, they were a little bit like, oh shit, the finals are a little bit different. Like there's a little bit more attention. There's a little bit more of a spotlight, like all the other factors that come in, like going to the Super Bowl for the first time. There's just more media. There's more this and that you got to do that you're not prepared to on your day to day. And so the Celtics were ready for that tonight. And the Celtics came out prepared. And I think Jaylen Brown getting that assignment on Luka, they knew what they needed to do to go ahead and set the tone. And being up 17 at the end of one, clearly a tone was set and the statement was made in that first quarter.
Can I play one more Jalen clip?
Yeah, of course. You can play as many as you want. I'm having a great time.
So this is the Jalen double effort, blocking the lob and then blocking the shot at the rim.
Doncic throws it up. Jones can't quite get it. Kleber does. There's Hardaway off the bounce. Nice feed inside. Jones blocked by Brown.
Yeah, just a double effort right there. Double effort by Jaylen Brown. And there was a couple times tonight too where just the Celtics rotations for the most part tonight were on point. Like their backside rotations, even stuff that you're not even gonna be able to pull it up on NBA.com. It's just and there was one specifically where I saw Jaylen make this rotation. I was like, oh my God, they're seeing this 3 steps ahead right now of where they need to be. And that's how you hold the team to under 90 points in game 1 of the NBA Finals with 2 extremely explosive scorers. Before we start talking about some of the Mavericks stats and players, let's go to Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum tonight had 6 turnovers, not ideal, only 16 points, but had 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 of 7 from 3, which we will take every single night if that's what he's going to shoot from the 3-point line. What were he's plus 19 overall, second on the team behind Drew Holiday as far as plus minus goes. What were your thoughts on Tatum tonight?
I mean, the rebounding is the thing that stands out, right? I'm just like kind of going through his rebounds right now on NBA.com, but his defensive responsibility that the Celtics put on him, that he has to guard centers most nights. Jason Tatum has to guard centers.
Yeah,
that's such an important, another cheat code, to use that phrase again, that we can just put our superstar wing and ask him to guard up and guard centers. Like
this is why we don't need to go double big. It's because of what Jason Tatum allows us to do,
especially against the Mavs, who are never going to have 2 big guys on the court at the same time. They'll never play Gafford and Lively at the same time. Their biggest lineup, did they play Kleber
with any of them at all? I don't even think so. I think they went Kleber without the 2 of them for the most part. When they did Kleber.
And PJ is probably their most physical guy. PJ, by the way, was looking to fight out there in that second half. Did you see that one play where he like rammed through Porzingis on the free throw rebound?
Dude, I think that was PJ and Lively's goal, was like, all right, let's see how sturdy and stable Porzingis is. Anytime Porzingis went to set a screen, the 2 of them just ran up under his armpit like they were offensive linemen doing one of those drills with the pads. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like Lively was doing this with 4 fouls. I was like, somebody gonna call this? Like, I feel like that's not legal. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at doesn't seem legal.
Yeah, but Tatum, his physicality is great. I just want to pull one rebound, and I feel like 5 of Tatum's rebounds are very similar to this, where I'm interested to see the tracking data to see how many times Tatum actually blocked out in this game, because he did a great job blocking out Lively here.
Overpowering PJ Washington. Washington in the corner, can't hit the 3.
Dude, he's going up against a 7-footer.
Yeah.
Bangs with him for position early on. Boxes him out, still continues to fight hard, jump high for the rebound. I mean, that was Tatum all night, man. Like, if this is what Jason Tatum has to be for the Celtics to win the title this year with all of the other pieces that we have, so be it. I don't need Jason Tatum to score 30 points a game, especially when the entire defensive game plan from the other team is to throw bodies at him and make him be a playmaker and make other guys beat you. Guess what? We've got a great team. We'll do that all day.
Right. That's kind of the point of why you can have Kristaps go for 20, Drew Holiday go for 12, Derek White go for 15, Jaylen Brown go for 22, who missed 5 free throws that could have been even higher, right? Like, this is the whole thing. Like, this is the construction of this team. And I want to give the broadcast a little bit of credit here, because in the first quarter, when I think Tatum only took 2 shots in the first quarter, and they rightfully called it out that Tatum was doing this with a purpose, with an intention, as you're talking about, because of everything else that was available as a resource offensively to this team, specifically Kristaps and what Jaylen had going, and Derek White got a bunch of good looks, and Drew Holiday was really great offensively in this game as well when he was picking his spots. And so, I did appreciate that he got the shout out of like, hey, like, don't just look that, oh, Tatum only has 1 shot. He had 4 rebounds and 3 assists in the first quarter. Right? Like, Tatum was a massive reason as to why the Celtics got out to a 17-point lead, and he didn't have to do it with scoring. And there's a good chance that in this series, that might just be the case. That might just, and it's kind of been the case all postseason. And certain people have pointed this out, that the reason that Tatum's not getting the quote unquote go-to, amount of touches or field goal attempts is because he has Jaylen Brown, who has Tyler Hero on him. He's got Jaylen Brown, who has Darius Garland, that they got in a mismatch. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's actively sacrificing and then being a 10 rebound, 5 assist night in, night out guy, playing great defense, being a guy that, he had a block tonight, but it can be another rim protector because he is the double big. He is the other big that the Celtics play, whether it's with Al or with Kristaps Porzingis. Like, he's a wing. He's a small forward by, traditional sense, but he's playing a power forward role in almost every way possible. When you try to like break it down as to what position Jason Tatum is, he's a power forward. I think we need to start just thinking of him as a power forward and not as a small forward.
Even back in the bubble season, when we had Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Daniel Tice. That was our starting lineup, right? Jason Tatum is a power forward in that lineup. He's been a power forward, although he's added the power over the years. He's had to function as a 4 for pretty much his entire career, and the reps have really paid off, man. He's playing great team basketball. He's doing what it takes to win. He has plenty of comments where people have asked him about like his need to score 30 points. He's like, I don't need to score 30 points for this team to win. And I think that's such a huge step forward. Like, people early in his career complaining about Tatum and his selfishness, right? And now at this point, he's evolved to where he just wants to hang a banner, and he understands that he's going to have to sacrifice by moving the ball, making the extra pass, not being a ball stopper, and just doing everything that the team needs him to do. 6 turnovers. People are going to have 6 turnovers when the entire defense is game planned to get in your way, basically, and try and disrupt your rhythm. I mean, if we look at the other side of the box score,
Kyrie had
4. You know what I mean? Like, people with high usage rates are going to turn the ball over.
Yeah, and honestly, man, especially early in the game, Tatum did a great job of when he was driving into that, because the Mavs this is the strength of the Mavs defense, is protecting the rim, right? That's their strength on defense, is with Lively and Gafford protecting the rim. And when Tatum would get there, or when he would see 2, Tatum did a really good job of getting the Celtics great looks by attracting that gravity from the Mavericks defense and waiting until the right moment to make that pass. There's one specifically that I know he had to Derek White where it was just an absolute dime, kind of either over his shoulder, I think over maybe his right shoulder, that he turned back and made to Derek White in the corner. And, Tatum, I think, he said 6 turnovers is going to happen, is what it is. Ideally, it's less. But I think the playmaking, I think the rebounding, I think the defense that Jason Tatum brought tonight, 3 of 7 from 3. If you're going to get that, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it, especially the way that everyone else was operating on offense tonight. Worked out perfectly for the Celtics. Should we go to the...
Yeah, but before we go to the next thing, I just want to pull up that Tatum pass to White that you had mentioned, because it really was a nice play and just shows you like the level to which the Mavs defense was just like focused on Tatum and how he just continued to make the right play.
There's the rookie Lively out on Tatum. Gets past, goes inside, kicks it out, wide open, Derek White. That 3 is good.
I mean, there's 4 guys.
That's unbelievable.
4 guys hanging around the paint. They're all boxes and elbows. Does a great job drawing 4, not drawing 2.
And then throws a fucking dart on time, on target.
Let's show that one more.
The shooting pocket.
There's the rookie Lively out on Tatum. Gets past, goes inside, kicks it out, wide open, Derek White. That 3 is good.
The Mavs literally are in a 2-3 zone.
Yeah. I mean, even you said it before. Like, the Mavs play man like they're playing zone to a certain degree, and all of that is going to be focused on Jason Tatum. It'd be interesting to see what the reaction to this game 1 is from the Mavericks and how they maybe adjust that. Maybe they live a little bit more with some one-on-one Jason Tatum, that's also very dangerous. So we'll see, what that looks like. But yeah, no, that's a perfect example of Jason Tatum's game tonight, mixed in with the rebounds, mixed in with the 5 assists, 16, 11, and 5 for Jason Tatum. And then let's go to the stock exchange here before, and then I want to talk a little bit about some of these Mavericks numbers over here as well from their box score. But I want to make sure we touch on the stock exchange here with Derek White and Drew Holiday. Derek White, 15 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds for him. Drew Holiday, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Each of them have a steal. Give me your thoughts here, and take it either way with Derek White or Drew Holiday.
I mean, they were both great, man. They did exactly what we needed from them. If I had to choose which one played better, I'd say Drew, but I thought they both did exactly what they needed to do. I have a sneeze coming on, just so you know, so I apologize. But there's this one play. It's I'm gonna see if I can find it. But basically, at one point, I think it's Derek White makes a bad pass to Drew Holiday, where I think the Mavs are in a zone. Drew's in the slot, he flashes to the middle, and Derek White gets kind of confused as to where he's going to be on the court. And they could have both just stopped at that moment. Let me see if I can find this here. Let me see if this is.
Yeah, I mean, while you're finding, I'll try to give my thoughts on them a little bit here. And this kind of, I think tonight's game just represented the entirety of the weight of the Celtics team. We've talked about this a lot since we had Steve Jones from Dunker Spot on a while back in the season, about teams feeling the gravity and the weight of the talent that the Celtics have. Tonight, that was just on full display. When you look at their top 6, all 6 are in double digits. All 6 have stats that go across the board. We haven't even talked about, we briefly mentioned Al Horford's defense. He was 4 of 8 from the field. He had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. That's just a casual for our 5th starter right there, and or really our 6th best player. That's his stat line. That's our 6th best player's stat line. Like that's not normal to have, that much filled in the box score. And so when you look at Derek White and Drew Holiday, tonight they didn't need to be, and I'm saying this not as a critique, they didn't need to be overly special. They were great, right? They were stars in their roles tonight by definition. With Porzingis out, we've needed at least one of them in each game where it's like, okay, one of you guys has to be special tonight. Like if we're really going to be that team, one of you guys has to be special. And this is the luxury when you bring back a guy like Kristaps Porzingis. Now everybody slots back in to where they've been for the majority of the season. And Derek White, Drew Holiday, both very capable of still having special games and special moments with Kristaps there. But when you have Kristaps shouldering the load for 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks, and being that backline defender like you talked about, Holiday and White just so seamlessly kind of go back into the roles of, Holiday being that grinded out defender, being the guy that can knock down threes. Oh, you want to give me a lane? Okay. I mean, I think about that play where he bodied PJ Washington down into the lane and then makes a scoop shot layup underneath. Like Holiday gives you that. Derek White, he's going to knock down 3 threes. He's going to give you 5 assists. He's going to be the guy that can initiate offense. He's going to sneak around that backside and get, and get a rebound that you're not expecting him to be there for to go ahead and get. They slide back into these roles so perfectly, and this is what makes the Celtics so deadly, is the ambiguity that comes with from Derek White and Drew Holiday being able to say, are they going to be these guys that are the 2nd, 3rd best player of the night? Or are they going to be the 4th or 5th best player? And they can do every single one of those roles from 2 to 4 to 5 so well. And they were great. They were stars in their roles, which we have talked about for so many years since Brad Stevens. They were the definition of that tonight, in my opinion.
Yeah, let me pull up that. That's very well said. Let me pull up that play really quickly. So you can see just like the epitome of them being stars in their roles, where they didn't need to do too much on offense. So they were both pretty efficient on the offensive end, made some big plays. But on this play, as I mentioned, Derek White has a very uncharacteristic turnover, but then just watch White and Holiday's hustle from the moment there's a turnover until the end of this clip.
Bad pass that time from White to turnover. Number 12 for Boston. Derek Jones drives in hard. Layup. Can't get to the ball.
full sprint. Did you see Drew Holiday? Full sprint down the court. Derek White, the moment he turns the ball over, he doesn't hang his head. He gets back on defense. They contest Derek Jones, who had a rough night at the rim, and then Porzingis comes in and cleans up the boards. But just little plays like that where it's very easy when you have a bad turnover like that to hang your head.
They could have sat there and looked at each other with their hands up like, I thought you were doing this. You were supposed to be doing that. And all of a sudden it's a, 2-on-1, 3-on-2 transition, easy bucket for the Mavericks. Not sure what the score was at that time, but that was going to be part of how the Mavericks got back into that game, was us beating ourselves and allowing them easy buckets. And that ultimately, didn't happen despite the Mavericks cutting it to 8. Let's do one last quick thing here on the Celtics side before I want to go to talk about some of the Mavericks stars and some of the play from the Mavericks. Just want to give a quick shout out to Sam Hauser, man. Sam had a pretty rough conference finals, and tonight, man, he was awesome. Made defensive plays, got a steal on Luka, the Luka stopper, as we've talked about many times before. Just throw Sam Hauser on Luka, call it a day. Sam made some great plays, and we talked about that big momentum 3 that he had. He was 2 of 2 from the 3-point line tonight. Played 16 minutes. 8 points and 4 rebounds. Just really solid minutes from Sam, who I think deserves a little bit of a shout out here.
Yeah, and Pritchard, although he was 0 for 7 from the field, the fact that we got 31 minutes of play from Hauser and Pritchard, I think, is important, especially in game 1 of the series where, we're expecting it to go 6 or 7 games. We're not expecting the Mavs just to roll over, but we've wondered if the Celtics were going to be able to go 8 deep in a big game. And they were able to go 8 deep tonight, which is huge. Sam Hauser, I mentioned in the pregame, I said I thought this would be more of a Hauser than a Pritchard series, just because I think he actually does a decent job guarding Luka. And it's going to be important for us to be able to have size on the perimeter to shoot 3-pointers, right? Because the Mavs do a great job of flying out to 3-point shooters. I think Pritchard was a little bit bothered by the size tonight, but Sam Hauser was great tonight, man. If we can get this efficiency out of Sam, who's so bad in the previous 2 series, shooting the ball. This was a very welcome sight, because it's just another thing that the Mavs have to worry about.
100%. So shout out to our guy Shotgun Sam getting back on track. Now let's take a look at some of the Maverick stats tonight, because there's going to be a few things that jump out to you here. Now, obviously, we've talked about the 3-point shooting was a rough spot for the Mavericks tonight. Luka made 4. They made 7 total, 7 of 27 from the 3-point line, and a few of those one from Jaden Hardy, one from Josh Green, coming in kind of garbage time when the game was over. So really 5 3-point shots were made. 1 outside of Luka Doncic is not going to get it done for the Mavericks. So that's certainly an area that sticks out. But let's start with Luka here, Greg. He ends up going 12 of 26 from the field. He definitely had a couple moments where he was getting it cooking at different points. And, I talked about, I texted you at one point when the Mavericks had cut it to 8 in one of our chats. I was like, I'm one more Luka 3 away from having a full-on panic attack, that this game went from 29 points to, if they'd hit a 3, would have been 5 points at that time. But as we talked about, Jaylen Brown kind of came in, remedied that, got the lead back up to 20 by the end of the third quarter. But Luka's stat line tonight, just to give it to you in full here: 12 of 26 from the field, 4 of 12 from 3, 2 of 5 from the from the free throw line. So did miss a couple of free throws there. 30 points, 10 rebounds. That 1 assist, as we talked about. Did have 2 steals. I believe picked KP's pocket at one point tonight, and then had 4 turnovers. Take this whichever way you want. Either talk about how you thought Luka's performance went, or really, if you want to talk about how the Celtics defended Luka, you can take it that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've touched on how we defended Luka already, so I'll just kind of go into his mentality. It seemed like he was trying to figure out, with the way that the Celtics were guarding him, how selfish he needed to be to start to open up things for other guys, because the Celtics were selling out to stick with the guys on the perimeter. They were showing 2 at the rim, but as I mentioned, they weren't showing 2 on the perimeter. They were guarding him one-on-one with Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown. And he took 26 shots, and that's a lot of shots for Luka. I think he would probably rather have 22 shots with 8 assists. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think the bigger issue for them was Kyrie. Kyrie, you talk about minute matching Porzingis with Lively. Joe also minute matched Drew Holiday with Kyrie. And Drew just did a great job from the very beginning of the game. We thought it was going to be Derek White guarding Kyrie. And for the majority of the game, it was Drew Holiday. And I think Drew's physicality and his just like willingness to guard Kyrie very aggressively made a huge dent into Kyrie's effectiveness on the court. Kyrie was 6 for 19. Luka did all that he could, but the Celtics game plan, as you mentioned in the pregame, was to just guard Luka as straight up as we could and try to make everybody else a non-factor.
Yeah, I thought the Celtics were great on Kyrie tonight, especially obviously Drew and Al would be actually the two guys that I would call out as doing a really great job on Kyrie. It's just Al ended up, having to defend him, and that's a really tough. That, like, we talked about Kyrie's handle before. We know how great Kyrie is, or Kyrie can be. Celtics did a really good job on both Kyrie and Luka, I thought, tonight, as far as not going for pump fakes. I don't know. There's not really a stat. It's just kind of just an eye test for me. Was they did a really good job of not succumbing to those multiple, pivot steps, pump fakes, and getting into foul trouble. I mean, you look at between Kyrie and Luka. Kyrie didn't even get to the free throw line tonight. Didn't get a single free throw. Foul and 5 free throw attempts from Luka with a guy with his usage and how much that he gets into the lane and pump fakes you and tries to use his body and his physicality. Like, that's pretty crazy to have only 5 free throw attempts from the two of them combined. Now, I think Kyrie probably had a couple of threes that he normally I would expect him to make at a couple broken plays where
for sure
he had some open threes that you would expect that 0 for 5 turns into, at least maybe 2 for 5. But 6 of 19, 0 of 5 from the 3-point line. 3 turnovers for him, only 12 points. Once again, as we talked about, OKC being somewhat the team to replicate from the postseason run the Mavericks have had as a team that had some success. It was just shutting off Kyrie to a certain degree. Kyrie averaged, I think, 15 or 16 points in that series. This is the start of that here for the Celtics. So it was really impressive the way the Celtics were able to contain Kyrie tonight.
Yeah, good comment here from Rob version 1. Shout out Rob version 1. He said, Mavs fans were saying Kai was going to torch us. They forgot we treat Kai like Embiid. We have the personnel and know-how to defend him all the way back to the net series. Keep it up, C's. Beat the Mavs. Totally agree. I think that, all the people coming into the series, and Kyrie will probably have a couple games where he goes crazy, but for the most part,
I mean, even out of those 6 shots he hit, at least 2 of them were crazy that I can think about in my head. Like, it was like, he hit one of them. I can think specifically of hit 3 parts of the rim, but it was like contested by 2 guys falling away. Like, he's going to hit a couple of those. And so he might just get hot off of those tough shots.
For sure. And I just think, like, with the way that we have the personnel to defend Kyrie and how physical our defenders can be and how physical the refs are allowing defenders to be so far in the playoffs, I mean, Kyrie's going to struggle. He's going to have to work really hard to get his points. He might not struggle the way he struggled tonight, but we're going to put a lot of wear and tear on him, and we're going to make him play defense. Kyrie was taking a page out of the Miami Heat book tonight and just fouling and reaching on every single freaking possession, trying to guard Derek White. But we're going to make Kyrie Irving work. And that was something that I said in the preview of the series, man. The same way we treated Darius Garland, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Halliburton, we're going to treat Kyrie that way. And he's going to have a hard time hanging with the physicality throughout 7 games with this team.
Yeah. So speaking of fouling, let's go to the guy that I think is probably the biggest X factor here going forward as we look ahead in the series. Let's talk about Derek Lively, man. Because, you were praising Derek Lively in the pregame just about how active. I mean, this guy's a rookie. He's active. And you saw at the end of the second quarter and into the third quarter, before they had to take him out with those fouls, he was a big reason that the Mavericks were able to get this from 29 all the way down to 8. And then, we talked about Jaylen Brown going right at him to get those 4th and 5th foul calls within about 2 minutes of each other or so. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on Lively here in game 1. He was only able to play just under 19 minutes here. He has a minus 15 box score. It didn't quite feel like that, and especially in that specific segment of midway towards the end of the second quarter through midway through the third quarter, it felt like his defensive activity took the Mavericks defense for a portion of time to a completely separate level than what we had seen at the beginning of the game with Gafford, and then certainly what we saw after he picked up his 5th foul.
Yeah, Lively's a great defender, man. And the way that they play defense, it's just they're funneling everything to him, and they do a great job, as we mentioned in the pregame, just with the peel switching and Lively's willingness to just step up and be vertical at the rim. But this is another thing that I feel like I have understood the limitations of the Mavs players really well. Lively offensively is the issue for them, where they had to go small ball 5 much earlier than I think they were expecting to in the second quarter. Because they ended up going with Kleber at the 5 because they just have no spacing when we have Porzingis on the court and they have Lively on the court, because Lively just can't. The lob, when we take away that lob, it's
not
just
many
a
of those
bunch
tonight.
it's a bunch 4 guys surrounding Luka Doncic, and then we're just like daring them to do anything, but I think with Lively, the bigger question is Gafford. He played 15 minutes tonight, and my question is, how long does Gafford stay in the starting lineup? Because he looked like the Washington Wizard, Daniel Gafford, tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's, as we were talking about Porzingis earlier, that was kind of what I was thinking about, was they're going to have to start Lively. That was the first thing that popped into my head, was that they're going to have to start Lively. And this is going to be a thing. This is going to be something the Celtics have to take advantage of, is that Lively, as much as he seems seasoned for a rookie, he's still a rookie. He's still very raw. He's 19, 20 years old. And I think getting him into foul trouble is now one of the key things that I'm watching for every single game for the rest of the series. What is, the ability for Derek Lively to stay on the court? And once again, to your point of matching his minutes with KP, with Kristaps out there, because he shoots the ball from an average of whatever it is, 27, 28, 29 feet away from the basket, it's just that much harder to find a guy that you're cool with putting Lively on so that he can get back and defend the rim, right? And so it makes it that much harder. Now, I will say, one thing that I don't think is going to be a great plan of attack is Jason Tatum just going right at Derek Lively, because he does a pretty good job holding up. So I don't know if that's honestly the best way to do it, but if he can get him in foul trouble the way Jaylen Brown did, that's a different story, because then that does give you the opportunity to play him off. But I think a lot of the rest of this series may hinge on, to a degree, Derek Lively, like how long he can be on the court, how long he can kind of mess things up for the Celtics on the offensive side of the ball. But like you said, it is tough when he's out there, when him or Gafford are out there, because there's just not quite enough spacing. And then you look at something that I highlighted in the pregame, is I think a lot is going to come down to, what do Derrick Jones and PJ Washington shoot from 3? And they didn't get many looks, but they were 1 of 5 tonight. And they didn't get many looks because of the way the Celtics defended. And I think that's going to be really hard for the Mavericks to get by with 1 3-point made, and certainly only 5 attempts. And you could even see that they may have had 1 or 2 other looks, but even they looked a little bit unsure. And maybe this was the jitters of the moment, but they looked a little bit unsure to go ahead and let that fly at times when they even had some shots. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Mavericks do to try to address both of those concerns.
Yeah. I think with Jones and Washington, when you look at the rest of the roster, man, there's just like not a lot of guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot other than Kyrie and Luka.
I mean, this is why I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably going to get some more minutes at some point. I know he's going to be a little bit of a liability defensively, but he's one of the few guys that, if offensively, you can get him, he can at least, he can catch and shoot, and he can kind of get his own shot a little bit, right?
I mean, Josh Green can't, right? Josh Green can't. Let's just go through the guys that are creators on their team. Oh, it's just Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Everybody else relies on other people to get them their shot. PJ has like a little bit in his bag, but he's more.
PJ and Tim are the 2 closest guys to having a little bit in their bag to get something on their own, right?
Like, and like maybe Jaden Hardy, but like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, he got all of his. He ended up with 13 points tonight, but all of that in, in kind of What's the opposite of
garbage
time? There you go.
There you go. I think we should wrap it up, Will. We're about 55 minutes in the words
I
are
literally
no
was
going to us.
I kept thinking crunch time. I was like, dude, the opposite. Think the opposite. This is not close. What is it? Garbage time. That's what I was looking for. That's where Jaden Hardy got his points. But yeah, I think you're right. I think this is probably a good point to wrap it up here. I'm really interested to see though this is the beauty of the playoffs and the beauty especially of the finals, when you've gotten to see teams at a high level and a lot of adjustments that you've already seen them make against other teams. You kind of have an idea of generally what's coming. So, I think when I look at game 2, I'm fully expecting Derek Lively to be in the starting lineup. I think that's the biggest adjustment off the bat that I would expect from the Mavericks. And if they do that, would you then expect KP to go back into the starting lineup for the Celtics?
I got nothing left, bro. I got nothing left. We could talk about it after game 2. I literally have nothing left. I don't think they'll make that change. I don't think they make the change until game 3. But yeah, let's wrap this up. We did it. We've done enough potting for the day.
We've done enough. We've done our duty here to Celtics Nation. We appreciate everybody for checking in and joining us here on the game 1 post-game recap. Celtics win 107-89. They lead the NBA Finals 1-0. Back at you on Sunday night for game 2, slightly earlier start, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Likely not a post-game recap from Greg and I, but we'll have something for you. Grab your coffee, join us the morning after. We'll probably have something for you then, so we'll make sure that we have that promoted and let you know when that's going to be. But for right now, we're going to send you out of here with a little bit of Black Sheep Optimists. Celtics up 1-0, game 2, Sunday night. We'll check back in with you. Peace, everybody.
It feels like summer, baby. Oh mama, it feels like summer. New season got me seeing new colors. So fly, the sky will kiss you. Lips so smooth, I miss your issues. Oh mama, it feels like summer. New season got me seeing new colors. Oh my, I'm slipping into white lies and time and that's you. Now you're 3 shots deep that you change.